Hello all, and welcome to episode 21 of the Sky Fantasy Podcast by Fantasy Football Hub. My name is Andrew, and I'm joined as usual by two of the most successful managers in the game. Firstly, Paul McAnulty. How was your weekend gone, Paul?
Yeah, a lot better than last weekend. I think things are starting to level out a little bit, depending on who you chose at the start of the game.
Captain Kane today?
Captain Kane, yeah.
Good
So
stuff. It
nice
was
38 points. I think
it was really frustrating in the first half when he scored those two goals disallowed on it, but he more than made up for it. We also have former Sky winner Dan Cox with us. Dan, what are your thoughts on the weekend's action?
Yeah, like Paul said, a lot better than last weekend, and I was pretty happy considering the madness that we had with Calvert-Lewin and all these Son getting 4 goals, and despite not owning them, it's been a pretty good weekend still.
It's been crazy, hasn't it? Like all the goals and all the braces and hat tricks as well. I've never known a start to a season like it, and a lot of them are popular ones as well. People like like Ings, Mitrovic, all these kind of players as well. Maybe a bit more in FPL, but it just seems to
not too popular in Sky though.
No,
some of them, mate.
Right.
We'll come to that later.
Oh, okay. Evening, everyone in the chat. Evening, Jamie Keane, Matt Bell, Mark Brown, Pete Gray, Mark Daniels, Thomas Hartnell, Liam, Dorrian. Evening, guys. Terrible week. I saw Liam, last year's champ, had blocked Southampton defence in his second team. Hope you're feeling okay there, Liam. And Hornet and Adam Byram on the chat as well. Welcome, everyone. As we are live, please feel free to join in the chat at any time. Let us know your thoughts on the topics throughout the relevant sections, and feel free to ask some questions for us at the end. For any new watchers and listeners, you are very, very welcome. If you haven't subscribed to us yet, please press the subscribe button in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen and set the alert so you don't miss our live streams, which are 9 p.m. every Sunday evening right here on this channel. Also, please press the like button if you enjoy our content, and don't forget to download our new free app, which includes everything our website offers. Just search for Fantasy Football Hub from wherever you get your apps. I've just seen Pompey Lad put in the chat, Samata Masterclass tomorrow. I called Calvert-Lewin ahead of Gameweek 1. That evens it out. 4 goals in 2 games. I'll take that. He's not in my team though, sadly, but did call him out. So we before we kick off with tonight's Twitter followers topics, we have Paul's stats. So we'll have Dan's rant at the end, and we're going to start every week with Paul's stats. Hasn't quite got the same ring yet, but Paul, can you please dazzle us with your weekly statistical analysis?
Sure, yeah. So this doesn't include the Leicester game, which is just finished 4-2 just now. So includes all the stats up to the game before that, the Chelsea-Liverpool game. So in the 16 games that have been played, 24 times shot bonus has been hit. Passing bonus has been hit 33 times, including by Thiago today, who came on at half-time and managed 75 passes.
Unbelievable.
Is the record now, right, since Opta stats began in 2002, 2003, 2004 for most successful passes in a half. So that's 33 times that's been hit. The tackles under the new structure has been hit 27 times, and had the old structure been in place, it would have been hit 21 times. So again, similar sort of gap from what there was last week in terms of percentage. So there's now 11 players which have 5 or more bonus points. So Alan from Everton leads away. He's on 8. So he hit passing and tackle bonus yesterday and hit tackle bonus in the first week. So he's on 8 bonus points. Then on 6 apiece is Stuart Dallas from Leeds, fullback, and Gabriel from Arsenal. So Dallas hit tackle bonus like tier 2 twice. And Gabriel's hit passing bonus tier 2 twice. And then on 5 points, you've got Fabinho, who managed both today, Rob Holding, Neil Moppy, Scott McTominay, who managed both yesterday, Dominic Calvert-Lewin, who's hit shots bonus twice, Hugo Lloris, who's managed saves bonus twice, Luke Ayling, and Mitchell from Crystal Palace, the budget enabler that a lot of people selected at the start of the season. So, there's 11 people with 5 or more. A couple of things I thought I'd highlight. I mentioned James Ward-Prowse was unlucky last week because he would have hit the old tackle bonus but didn't under the new rules. So Basham from Sheffield United, Connor Cody, and Yves Bissouma are all now victim to that as well. So and any owners of any of them, particularly Basuma after getting sent off today, can deem themselves pretty unlucky. And a couple of players that I thought are going under the radar, not so much because they would have qualified for tackle bonus before, but were just short of passing and just short of tackling in the same game. Webster from Brighton against Chelsea managed 55 passes, so 5 short and 1 tackle away from bonus. And then Seamus Coleman yesterday for Everton against West Brom, although not heavily owned, 55 successful passes and 3 tackles. So again, 5 short and 1 tackle short as well.
Fantastic. Thanks for that, Paul. There's definitely a kind of a bonus, like a template 4 or 5 players sort of forming, isn't there? And I think if you thinking head towards the overhaul now, if we find Alan, he's scored, what's he got, 15 points in 2 weeks, and he hasn't had any kind of attacking attacking.
He had a shot on target. He had a single shot on target yesterday as well.
Yeah.
What I was going to do in the overhaul special, I'll have a look at value per bonus points as well. Idea. I imagine Mitchell's doing pretty well. It probably makes more sense to have the 4 games worth of data before picking that up.
Thank you very much, Paul. Dan, could you go through some of the interesting ownership stats for us, please?
Yeah, so I look on the app or the Sky website, because that gives you a top 5 in and out, but that don't really make a lot of sense to me, because I don't know if they update that daily or whatever, because it sometimes doesn't really seem right. So I'll manually go there each day and just take some notes. The main ones I spotted this week was Pulisic. He was in 16% of teams on Monday. He's now dropped down to 8%. Might even go away. That was this morning before today's game, so I think he's probably been taken out of even more. I think because that was just weren't going to play, was he, or whatever. Werner, he's on 24. He's pretty much been the same. He was 27 at the start of the week, so he's been about the same. Kane went down a little bit, 15 to 14. So not many people got punished by his sort of haul today. Mainly yesterday, when I was really worried, when you see Calvert-Lewin and you think, oh my God, he's scored like hat-trick, bad times. When you actually then look and think, do you know what? He's in 3.17% of teams. So you don't really need to worry. He's not in that. If he's in a 20, 30%, then it's like, oh God, but you don't need to worry. So it wasn't too bad. And who's the other one? Son today. Bear with me. Where have I put him on my sheet? Son. Yeah, then again, you're thinking, oh, God, 28 points. He's only in 5% of teams. And like we sort of said, he probably would be in more... Did we say we think he would be more selected by the sort of people on Twitter or, more experienced managers? I think that's what we said. But anyway, he's only in 5% of teams and he got 28 points. And you're thinking, oh, no, that's disaster. But Kane still... His... Lost his stats for today, his points, but he was. Hang on, I've got to find it. Sorry, yeah, Kane got 19 points, so it's not that bad. Like, I know he only got 1 goal, but he did get the 4 assists, so he got 19 points, so it's not that bad. And Kane was in 15% of teams, so do you know what I mean? That's his ownership was a bit more. Who are the other ones? So yeah, Pulisic was the main one I'd spotted who'd gone down the most. Aguero was in 4% of teams. That's obviously going to drop now because he's supposed to be out for a couple of months. And then I was looking at his replacement. So whether you want Jesus, he's only 1.35% of teams at the moment, and Sterling's in 13. So, do you know what I mean? If you're going to move to one of them instead, like we said before, Paul said when Aguero was injured. No, who was it got injured? Jesus got injured last season, wasn't it? So it was like you knew he was out. So it's pretty well. You can never be dead certain with Pep, can you? But you got to be pretty certain that Jesus is going to start more often than not now. Do you know what I mean? So he might be worth a little punt till the overhaul.
Okay, cool. Thank you, Dan. Yes, this is so. Moving on to Jesus et al. So our topics for today. So we put the topics out on Twitter. Number 1, we're going to discuss Everton options. We're going to talk about them first. Number 2, Monday night transfers or captain. So obviously, with Aguero out, there's some really interesting options there. Sterling, Jesus, etc. And thirdly, we're going to look at pre-overhaul transfer usage. So we've had some questions around, if we had a bad start, etc. Do we jump on or not? So those are going to be our 3 topics for this evening. Please feel free anyone to jump in at any time. Marius Ionita said, had Kane as captain, cursing my luck after the first 40 minutes. Absolutely, I had Kane as captain. I had Doherty in my FPL team after that first goal went in. It was, everyone in part of the season, it was one of those moments where you're just like, why do I bother? Why do I bother? And that was one of them. In the end, it worked out okay, but definitely. Evening, Ian Parrin. Jamie Keane, any idea when the Game Week 4 fixtures will be announced? We need them done very, very quickly because it's an absolute pain.
I was having a thought about this. Usually before the international break, there is no Monday game. So unless there's a Friday game, I don't think the captaincies are going to be too big an issue because the games will probably be spread over just Saturday, Sunday.
Good.
For those that are thinking of the transfers and thinking to have a differential from another team that they don't already have, I possibly wouldn't overthink that too much.
Good thinking there. So firstly, let's have a look at some Everton questions then. So we had questions from Reese, Sky FF. Are Everton assets essential after the overhaul? Alan, DCL, etc. At Magpie Paul 37, specifically a third pre-overhaul transfer. The plan was to get in Rodriguez or DCL. Brownie, have we all overlooked Everton new boys, Rodriguez, Decore and Allen? All three, including DCL, have hit the ground running. Should Sky FF managers invest during the overhaul? And fourth, Bowie 87. Overall Kane to a Man City player. And it looks like I put this question in the wrong section, so we'll answer that one after. So the first ones are about Everton, and there's two key questions here. The more pertinent one is probably, should we be looking to get Everton assets in now pre-overhaul? And then secondly, who are the ones we're looking at post-overhaul? So Dan, can I come to you first? Everton assets pre-overhaul, what are your thoughts?
We talked about Alan, didn't we? But I think we sort of generally agreed that we were just going to keep an eye on him and see how he does, and then he could be a post-overhaul pick. So I say we mentioned him, but whether you're going to bring him in now, but say when he's hit tackle bonus in these 2 games, he does look like an option. But I'm probably just going to wait now to the overhaul. I don't think I'll make a Man City move tomorrow, but yeah, he's a good option and he'll pick up the points, but is it going to be worth a transfer for 2 games till the overhaul? Really, I'm still going to keep an eye on him.
And what about at overhaul, Dan? Have you got any of them kind of nailed in your overhaul team? James or Alan or anyone else?
Yeah, I like Alan. Rodriguez, yeah, he's good at 8.8 million. So he got man of the match, didn't he, on Saturday, despite Calvert-Lewin getting a hat-trick. So you can see that sort of being a trend, can't you? That he's going to be the main guy sort of thing the reporters are going to love. So he's got to be considered. He's a good price. But yeah, I'm still going to watch him for the next 2 games. Like, who have they got? They've got Palace and then Brighton. So see how they get on there and go from the overall. I don't know. We'd always sort of said you do end up with a cheap striker like last season Ings. So maybe Calvert-Lewin could be that cheaper option for you to allow you to have Trent and Van Dijk sort of thing. So yeah, potentially we'll see how they go. I know what'll happen. They'll be really good the next 2 games. We'll get them all in the overhaul and then they'll go back to being terrible. But they're definitely on the radar, on the short list.
Okay, and Paul, your thoughts on Everton?
They play on the first game day in Game Week 3, the game week coming up. So there's not an ideal opportunity to transfer someone in unless you're sitting with an injured player. So I wouldn't be looking to get any in pre-overhaul. And then the first game post-overhaul, so against Liverpool as well. I think Alan. I don't think there's any essential player in the Sky game at all. Van Dijk perhaps was at one point. I'd argue that even he's not essential now in the game. But Alan looks a really good pick, and I'm pretty sure he'll be in my overhaul team. With regards to the others, I guess it's wait and see how the fixtures land.
Yeah, I agree. So I think in terms of pre-overhaul, if we're looking at 2 of the most impressive defensive teams we've seen so far, Everton are playing them next. So they're away to Palace, who've conceded 1 goal in 2 games, and that was a lucky Van der Beek goal, which kind of landed, at his feet yesterday, and then they've got Brighton as well. So I think if they had some easier games, or even one really easy game, I think I'd be tempted. But I think unless you've got a player like Dele Alli, or someone who's gone, I think it'd be worth the switch to Alan, because it looks like Alan's probably going to get a minimum of 5 points every game, you'd guess. But I think so. So I've got Saint-Maximin in my team, and if it looks like he's injured for the couple of games, I may be tempted. But then it depends as well on whether we get the fixtures for the last game. It depends if I need a captain. Post overhaul at the moment, I would say Alan is probably nailed in my team. I think James Rodriguez looks a really good cheap option as well. Calvert-Lewin, I'm not so sure, because he scored 4 in 2, right? He's not going to score, what would it be, 76 in 38, right? He's probably going to end up on 15, 18 for the season, as you'd expect. So he's having his run now, which is good. But I'm hoping that lots of players, that lots of managers are bringing him in now, because I don't think he can continue scoring every week. Don't get me wrong. I think he's a good player. I think you'll get an odd goal, but a couple of games pre-overhaul now are not the best, and they will obviously revert back to the mean as well at some point. But I think James and Alan are interested in me at overhaul.
With regards to the Dele Alli move, if you're pre-overhaul, if you thought Rodri was going to play 3 games for City in that time, I think he's around about that price as well. So I don't know that I wouldn't pick him over Alan, knowing that you get an extra game.
Yeah, cool. I agree with Martin Beasley in the chat. So James looks a good pick, good mix of man of the match, assists, goals, and bonus as well. So he does look like a really rounded player at a very nice price as well there. And as we know, Sky-like Flair plays for man of the match. So really good point. So in terms of our second topic, this was about transfer and captain opportunities for tomorrow evening. So this is really interesting, because it'll affect every single one of us. And we had some questions in from Sam at Sky FF. Do we stick with the plan and transfer in KDB on Monday, or go for Jesus now that the news of Aguero's injury has emerged? Tim Barry, is it worth using 2 transfers on Man City players? De Bruyne plus Sterling or Jesus? Leeds to come in game week 4. Could be an avalanche of goals. So Leeds have conceded 7 goals in 2 games. Tom Hartnell, Orba for Kane or De Bruyne? And Sam says we stick with a plan, transferring KDB. And I've copied that one again. That's the mistake I made on the first slide. So it's all about tomorrow night. What do we do? So not many players will have Man City players in place. Paul, I'll come to you first this time. What are your kind of thoughts around tomorrow night? Are you just doing the boring order to KDB, or have you got any other thoughts that are tempting you?
At this stage of the season, I like being boring. I'm just going to do the Aubameyang to KDB. You won't see the Man City lineup. Yeah. Jesus, you think will probably play. Like I mentioned earlier, Rodri will probably play. Sterling's stats away from home were much better than KDB's last season, but knowing that I will probably captain the Man City player I brought in tomorrow, next Sunday as well, and when they're at home, sways me towards KDB. So that was the plan all along. I've been lucky with injuries. I've not got any injuries. So I've not got Saint-Maximin, who might be out. Yeah. I've not got Tierney. I've not got Dele Alli. So I've not had anything to really consider, knowing that the plan all along for me was to use 1 transfer pre-overhaul and take it from there.
Yeah, and fair enough. Marius Ionita can't see Man City lineup. KDB safe option. That's a really good point. There is you're kind of trusting it wouldn't be anything worse than bringing in Sterling. Sterling is rife at times for a random rotation, and there'd be nothing worse than spending a transfer on him to see him on the bench. Dan, any excitement? Any thoughts for tomorrow night?
Yeah, so De Bruyne's in 47% of teams already, and that's only going to go up tomorrow, isn't it? So, yeah. Do you know what I mean? I didn't have him for a few games last season where he was bringing in 20 pointers. So the safe play is De Bruyne. Just go with everyone else to the overhaul. It's just play it safe. You could, like I said, go for Jesus. in 1.35% of teams. Like, that's a differential, but I don't really want to be gambling and stuff and risking things like that. So not for me. Like, the plan was De Bruyne, and I always find it when I make my plan, I should stick to it, because when I change my mind is when I then come off worse. So I'm just going to stick to De Bruyne, get to the overhaul in one piece, and play it safe.
Are you tempted at all by bringing in potentially a second player? So I was looking at Bruno, right? So he was playing really deep. He wasn't really involved in anything yesterday. The next games are pretty two tough games. I think they're away to Brighton on the weekend, which is going to be a hard game for him. And the week after, they're home to Spurs, which, may score a goal or two, but potentially you could get a Man City player for 3 games there, or are you just sticking fast?
That's a bit of a debate who to take out, because if I was planning to take out Aubameyang, but it's just because we ain't got this game week 4's fixtures, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? Because I won't be captain of Aubameyang against Liverpool, so he can go. But then if it's Arsenal, Sheffield United on the Sunday or something, you might want him for that. So no, I don't know. I think I'll just do the one move like I planned, and get to the overhaul by using one transfer. And I can see the appeal of bringing in Sterling or Jesus, but not for me. I'm just going to be pretty boring, to be honest. I know it's not very exciting, but I'm just playing the numbers.
No, I think this is the sensible play, which newer players towards the game and potentially players who want to look to improve their rank. I'm of which I'm one, right? So I'm listening to you guys every week. I was saying kind of pre-pod, I was tempted to potentially move on Bruno to Jimenez. So Jimenez, obviously away to Man City is not the best, though. He has got a chance of scoring a goal or two. Then they're away to West Ham, then they're away to Fulham then in game week 4. So, they have, he's looking really good. Wolves are looking really, really good. But as you say, the amount of times down which you said, we've all experienced it. You take out Bruno, and then Bruno will score 2 penalties on Saturday, and Jimenez will get booked and do nothing or something. And you just, not only are you down on points, more importantly, you've wasted that transfer as well. So, really, really sound advice there, gents. As you say, as boring as it is, it's probably the right play and probably the right thing to do. And I think I will be doing exactly the same thing, just a straightforward Auba to De Bruyne. And I'm glad that Kane played well today, because it made the decision easier, because we had a question earlier from Tom, Auba or Kane for De Bruyne. Surely now it's got to be Auba or not Kane. Kane at home to Spurs home to Newcastle next Sunday, so he's definitely a captain option there as well. So I think we're all agreed. Auba to Kane. Ooh, okay. Just a few comments in the chat. Dean Miles says Mitchell was just an option until Van Aanholt comes back. He looks so good, though. It's his place to lose now. Roy can't drop him. Agree, looks good, but I don't think his place to lose. Van Aanholt is, he's their number one there. I think, I think he's good until overhaul. And he's got the points already you wanted from him, right? In the 2 games, just can't see Van Aanholt be on the bench. Apologies, Paul.
Do you think Van Aanholt could come in at left midfield? Jeff Slops played there, and although I'd argue he's played well from the highlights I've seen, he has 8 completed passes in 2 games.
He had the assist, didn't he? Was it yesterday? He had the assist. I can't see it. I can just see Mitchell.
He was a left back because Schlupp was a left back at some point as well, wasn't he? I'm sure he was.
I think he's a bit of a utility player. Schlupp, he tends to play wherever. Martin Beasley has a strong feeling City are going to struggle tomorrow at Wolves. I agree. It's their first game back. We saw United, how they played yesterday. We also saw Wolves last weekend, who were very, very efficient, very, very fit. I think it's going to be a really good game. Actually, fancy Jimenez to get something. Tomorrow he's going to be on penalties as well. Andrew Lee asks thought on Podence for Wolves playing right wing and is a mid on Sky for only 6.6 option for post overhaul. I mean, I think we'll know more of the next few games. It looks like Wolves have signed the right back now, which may mean that Traore pushes up into the 3, which may mean that Podence and Neto share some minutes. But at the moment, it's probably Podence's place to lose ahead of Neto. Any other thoughts there, guys? Dan?
Like you said, I'll just keep an eye on it, really, see what happens in the next 3 games. And it's tricky. And if they didn't sign that guy and Traore moving up, then might have been an option. But I don't know, for a mid, that is a good price, isn't it, for a mid, and he's down as a midfielder. But one to watch, one on the short list for sure.
And Wolves fixtures, so even pre-overhaul. So Wolves fixtures, if I just go their first 5 games after overhaul, they've got Leeds, Newcastle, Crystal Palace, Leicester, Southampton, and before then they've got a couple of nice games as well. So Wolves' fixtures, it may be worth even having a punt on Podence. So if he gets a couple of attacking returns in those games and then starts to lose some game time, you can then move him on for a captain option kind of later down the line. But as I said, I think the template or a template is starting to form a little bit for that overhaul. There's some really nice options coming in at a really nice price. So Tom Hartnell, you're right, Wolves have excellent fixtures for a while. Mark Lewington asks quickly, I put KDB in at the start. Should I transfer Salah for someone? So I just think if you've got KDB, I'd probably leave him. Salah is probably a really good captain option to Arsenal next Monday.
Yeah, I'd keep Salah now and then Villa after that.
Yeah. Paul, agree?
Yeah. Yeah,
definitely. Yeah, Mark, just hold on to Salah. He's probably the best captain option next Monday. And as Dan says, he's got Villa after that then. So, he's still a nice hold there, Mark. So on to our third topic then, and this was kind of related to the previous one, but it's more general around pre-overhaul transfer uses. We've kind of touched on this already. We did have some questions. So at Tevzi0611, is it time to panic and use 2 or 3 transfers before overhaul after a few disasters this weekend, or stick to the plan? Aubameyang out for De Bruyne. So I think we've answered that in terms of the move Auba to De Bruyne. Depending on what you deem as a disaster, right? So if you just look at what's happened in the last fortnight, Kane was a disaster captain last week, as was Aubameyang. Salah and Vardy were the main men last week. If you look this week now, if you captained Aubameyang yesterday, okay, you only got the assist. If you captained Kane today, you did well. Whereas both Salah and Vardy both blanked. If you go chasing points, which I'm sure a few people listening or watching probably have, and keeping quiet, if you go chasing after points, this early, not going to happen for you. So I would say, depending on what you call a disaster, I would say stick to the plan. If you're on something like 30, 40 points and your team is absolutely stinking, you can take a risk or two if you want. But as a couple of the guys in the chat have said, I don't think it's an easy game for Man City tomorrow. I think that Wolves, as I say, a very efficient team, very good at home, very good defensively as well. So you may want to hold on for a better option there. And if I can ask you guys this, so this is Ian Parrin, having seen the evidence from the first 2 game weeks, are we now planning to take advantage by using some transfers or just building data in readiness for the overhaul? Paul, could you answer Ian's question there first?
Yeah, I'm just building data to get ready for the overhaul. I had mentioned earlier I was only planning one move, but I was always thinking I left money to do Salah next Monday as well, which still might be the move for me. But that's not based on new data. We already know that Salah's probably going to be the best option that game day.
Agree. And yourself, Dan, so I think you mentioned it earlier, but are you still only planning on the 2 transfers pre-overhaul, was it?
One, I think just one now. Just going to do Aubameyang to KDB tomorrow and leave it at that. When people said they've had disasters, like I had Tierney. Do you know what I mean? So he's injured in the warm-up last night and out of the game. But I'll just think, do you know what? I could only bring in a defender for that money. So I think, do you know what? I'll just save the transfer. And do you know what I mean? It's been a right day today. But if you ever had a bad start, don't make it worse by then wasting transfers. Like when the Newcastle guy, ASM, I'll call him, he's got injured. Do you know what I mean? You could bring in Allen, couldn't you now? I know we said Rodri, but what are you going to get of Allen? Like if he gets tackle bonus in the next 2 games, that's 10 points. Do you know what I mean? I just think I'd rather just save an extra transfer and then just say, I ain't had a great start, but at the overhaul, I got 39, 38 transfers, and we'll go from there really.
When you've used all your transfers with 5 weeks to go at the end of the season, you're losing 5 weeks worth of games as opposed to losing out on 2 games of an 8 million player at this stage.
Agree. So while we're just touching on fixtures, so for our YouTube watchers now, so we've just got the Hubs fixture ticker up showing the last 2 games before the overhaul, and what it shows is Wolves are top. So Wolves have got West Ham away in game week 3. They're also home to Fulham, which obviously could be a very nice fixture for them in game week 4. It shows Chelsea. So we've had some talk of Werner and dropping Werner. They're away to West Brom on Saturday. So I think for me at the moment, he's probably captain option on game week 3. I've heard some people talk about maybe dropping him, but if you watch the games, okay, you haven't had many returns. He had an assist from the penalty in the first one. He should have obviously had an assist today for the penalty as well.
I
thought he looked really, really sharp, and I think he looks really good. So West Brom have shipped 8 goals in 2 games, I think, and then Chelsea also play Palace. Who in all fairness have been quite tight after that. Southampton.
So Vardy scored twice against West Brom, did he? Calvert-Lewin scored a hat trick.
Did.
Werner next week. Hat trick, lovely.
This is
4 maybe.
This is it exactly. And for those who've got a lot of Southampton and Everton defenders in the team, of which some of us have got 1, 2, or even more. Southampton have got Burnley and then home to West Brom, and Everton have got Palace at home to Brighton. So we mustn't forget why we picked these defenders, because they've got nice defensive fixtures still to come. They're if you think of Burnley, West Brom, Palace, and Brighton, they're probably 4 of the lowest scorers in the league. Even though, in all fairness to Palace, they're playing really well, and Brighton scored a couple. Still think, these are the reason we brought it in. We didn't bring in the players with 2 games in mind. It was the 4 games. So stick to your guns. And Phil Speck, Southampton, ever not near the top of that list. They always seem to be there. Sometimes, but at the moment they're 3rd. I'm sure they'll have a gap. And then Burnley have got Southampton and Newcastle. Liverpool have got Arsenal and Villa. So we were talking about maybe holding on to Salah. Man United got Brighton and Spurs, not very nice. And then we go further down again. Spencer Lee, over to Jimenez instead of KDB. I mean, it's feast or famine there, mate. If KDB bangs and you haven't got him, you will be behind 50% of the game, which is, what's that? 200,000 managers could gain 10 and 20 points on you. However, if KDB blanks and Jimenez hits, you've got the advantage over them. It depends if you're... I think the term there in IT, what we use and pull all this, it's all down to risk appetite and what you think about that there. So
investment management.
Exactly that. Yeah. Okay. So we will now move on then to which players we feel caught our eye this weekend. So I kept my list from last week. I'm actually quite proud of it, which I'll come on to in a second. But Dan, can I come to you first on this one? Which players caught your eye this weekend?
Like the ones we said, the Everton 3. They're all going to be like this. Like, not to bring in now. That'll be. Yeah. Now just thinking overhaul, but yeah, the Everton 3. I don't know. I am still just getting all the data and stuff. Like Gabriel of Arsenal.
Yeah,
he looks good. Then whether he, I'm presuming he's going to keep his spot. Like, he's been great, and he's passing. Did he get passing again this weekend? I think he said he did, didn't he? But he looks good. Everton 3 and Arsenal. I can't think off the top of my head at the minute, but they were the main ones. Ones that I'm a bit worried. Like, I've got Justin, and he done well today, but I'm still a bit worried about him going forward with Pereira coming back. Castagna or whatever, he looked good, didn't he? But
yeah, a couple of assists and a goal in 2 games, not bad, is it?
Yeah, I don't know. Antonio, I still thought like he got his goal, didn't he? And he's playing up top, so he's there's a striker playing as midfielder like Podence we talked about. So I think he'll still be in there. But I'm still basically just going to see what happens over the next 2 rounds of fixtures and see what the patterns are in bonus and stuff. But Everton are definitely impressing with how they're playing and really sort of turning it around this season.
Cool. A couple of comments. Thomas Hartnell, Dean Garner, and Pereira looked good. Agree there. And Dean Garner, I think he's another real kind of budget option there. Sure, he's
6.8,
6
something
points
like that.
something.
And he's
Yeah,
cheap.
I think Pereira's a bit more expensive, but Dean Garner looks good. And Harvey Barnes played quite well today as well. He's absolutely. I think we called him out, didn't we, at the start of the season, that the last game pre-lockdown, I think he scored 2, didn't he? He looked really good. Yeah, he's really sharp, and he had a lot of shots as well in last week. I think he had 4 or 5 shots in the box last week as well.
Yeah, he was in the top, wasn't he?
The kind of underlying stats there. Just a quick question from Ian Shatterdar. Please answer my question because I'm really on edge as on what to do. Apologies there. So he transferred Martial in for Werner. But seeing Man United's performance, I'm thinking of trading him out for Jimenez. We're not sure if I should do it, given that Brighton is next for Man U. Just a quick one there. Dan, would you say if he's brought in Martial, should he move on for Jimenez, or should we just not? Should we ease off a little bit on the?
No, he took Werner out after one game. No, you sound like a man who's going to make a lot of transfers.
Absolutely.
So no, I'd just keep Martial now. They got Brighton next, haven't they? They got they need a win, so I'll just stick with him for now.
And probably Martial, you probably wouldn't captain him, I would guess, since it's on the same day as Saturday. Werner's playing West. Oh, mind you, he hasn't got Werner, so he may well captain Martial.
Yeah,
I'd look at captaincy. And that's the answer there. Mark Brown at 10.8 million. Is Bale old news, or will he pose a threat once fit? Paul, what are your thoughts on Gareth Bale? Have you heard of him before?
What's my thoughts on Gareth Bale? I think he'll just be injured constantly. Under Jose Mourinho, I know Kane and Son both done well today, but long term, I probably won't have him. I don't think. If he was a midfielder, but based on the fewer elite midfielders in the game, I would have considered him potentially, but I probably won't at 10.8.
I would just say that I think he makes Son and Kane a better option. Personally, I'm not sure him in his own right. If you can imagine soon, hopefully they're going to have Kane up front, flanked by Son and Bale. A lot of pace, talent, skill, and thought in there. So yeah, I think it just heightens Kane. I'm not sure I choose Bale above Kane.
As we unearth the sort of diamonds from the first 4 games for pre-overhaul, I suspect that a lot of people will revert back to the 5-3-2 formation, and then Bale's taken up one slot of 2 forwards.
Agree. Yeah, for sure. A couple more questions we've had in the chat. Lou Hep 1, should I swap Greenwood to James? I'm assuming he means James Rodriguez and not Dan James. I wouldn't swap for Dan James if that's your question, Lou Hep. No. James Rodriguez, I'm not sure if he means that. Probably.
No one's picking Dan James, are they?
Probably leave. No, I definitely wouldn't go for Dan James. Okay, we had a final couple of questions. Oh no, actually first, sorry, Paul, I haven't asked you, have I? Anyone catch your eye? Apologies.
Clutch from Leeds, 7.3 million midfielder, takes penalties. He scored 10 twice, picked up tackles against Liverpool, goal and assist yesterday. Leeds' fixtures are nice after the overhaul. I'm definitely contemplating him. I think he's their first choice penalty taker, and Bamford's their second choice. He doesn't play 90 often, but for 7.3 midfielder, I think I could deal with that.
Yeah, great. So my list from last week, I had Zaha last week, even though he didn't do a lot last week. I thought he looked really good. Obviously, he returned from us this week. I think if he stays at Palace and stays up front, I think he looks a fantastic option. I really, really do. And I think he's quite cheap down as a mid. I think as well. Paul.
Yeah, 8.9.
8.9 for a mid playing as a striker on penalties. For me, looks incredible value. Again, one for overhaul. See if he stays. And see if he stays up front. Picked out Luca Dean, Allen, and Richarlison and DCL last week, so quite happy with them. Leeds players, so agree with Click. Rodriguez as well. I noted last week Son is still on all corners and set pieces, so I took him out of my FPL team this week. Had Kane in Sky, so that wasn't the worst. Robertson as well. So I think this week, Reece James, I think if he keeps his place, I think he looks tremendous value after the overhaul. Again, he looks really good. Thiago for kind of Liverpool, as we said, obviously depends, if he nails down the spot, but tier 2 passing every week, guaranteed by the look of it. Okay, they were playing against 10, but Van Dijk is good for it anyway, right? So, I think he looks good. I'm going off TAA. So he's not great on bonus anyway. I don't think he's looked very dangerous. I know he had a couple of free kicks, but he's only going to score a couple of them a season, right? In terms of all the rest of it, I think he's more expensive, and I think that both Robertson and Van Dijk are better options. Van Dijk, he's so dangerous. He nearly scored again earlier. He might have been offside, but he nearly scored again earlier. And obviously last week we hadn't seen Wolves play, but Jimenez, Saiss could be really good value. I noted Lamptey as well, which I've noticed that Martin's put in the chat as well. Lamptey only at 6 million. He came off today after 57 minutes, and our man of the match, he played that well, and he had the assist. So
just missed out on the clean sheet points, didn't he? Because he didn't do the 60 minutes. That's harsh, isn't it?
Yeah, he made.
And Trent got 59 passes as well.
Yeah.
Oh, did he really? He had 50.
Just missed passing bonus.
Yeah, but I just think it looks different with Trent from last year to this year. Robertson's on much more of the he was on everything, right? He was on all the corners, all the free kicks. You could even tell that Salah wanted to take the free kick off him earlier, didn't he? When Robertson's having all the corners and free kicks on that left hand side. So I think there's better options there. We've had a couple of questions on who to replace players with. So Tierney was 8.1, and also Vinagre. So I think we've mentioned a lot of options there actually in that that kind of bracket there. Players like Lamptey, Diangana, Cleach or Cleach, whatever his name is. Potentially Saiss players like there's a lot of options in that area. Tierney, I think may actually not be that injured, so it could be worth holding on to Tierney. Apologies, Paul, you're going to say something then.
Well, I was going to say, if he missed the Liverpool game, it's probably not the end of the world. That's, I guess, why he didn't. Picking Tierney at the start of the game probably wasn't for the Liverpool game. And then if he came back and got passing bonus against Sheffield United, I think I'd be more annoyed if he came back for that Sheffield United game having made a transfer than having not.
Okay, I think we've got
Tierney's in Tierney's in like 14% of teams as well. He's in a lot of teams, so I'll check what that is tomorrow morning when it's updated today's, because obviously people would have took him out today. But
and you've got him as well, Dan, haven't you?
I'm just going to keep him because hopefully he'll be back for that Villa game, and if not, do you know what I mean? I can only get a defender for that money, 8 mil, and I'm just going to keep the transfer. To be honest, I think I'll be able to use it better later in the season.
Yeah, definitely. And in terms of the price, well, and so if he is out, so I say I've got Sam Maximum, haven't got Tierney, but that that kind of price point. If you're looking for like steady returns, or we've already mentioned Allen will probably get at least 5 points every game if you want to use a transfer, and that is an if there. So someone's pissed in the chat because they've put that Dan Cox is my hero. He's the best fantasy football player ever to grace the world. Is your mum on the chat, Dan, or something, or the wife, or the kids, or?
I don't know who that is, but I haven't even paid anyone to say anything like that this week, so I don't know who that is.
Dan, who's the guy that always puts your name in their team name every year? Remember, there was someone in one of the leagues that you're in that had Dan Cox or something or other. I can't remember. Maybe it's him. Maybe it's sort of reverse.
I don't know, mate. All I know is I lock the doors when I go to bed, and if we ever have a meet up, I'll bring in a security or somewhere. Getting a bit worried.
Okay, so let's move on to final questions. Apologies for the slide. Let me just change that really quickly if I can, so it fits on the screen. Apologies for that, everyone. So, final questions then. Thanks to everyone who's asked, who sent in questions again. It's really, really appreciated. Obviously, as usual. Not a tactical question, but do you think there are too many premium strikers in the Sky Fantasy Football game and not enough premium mids? What are your thoughts on that, Dan? Because obviously there's they seem to be moving. Anyone who plays in that front three, right, regardless if they're in the wing, goes to strikers. Do you think that's a fair question? Comment?
That there's no premium mids really. Was that what you were saying?
Yes. Sorry. Yeah.
I think I'm going to have 3 strikers after the overhaul because there's just so many, isn't there? But the mids, I know we had the mids last season before Fernandes signed. It was only De Bruyne, and then the rest were just, there was no one really. Dele Alli weren't doing it. Eriksen had gone, sort of thing. But all that sort of 10 million price midfielders, there wasn't anyone.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Yeah, maybe it's sort of looking that way again. Like you'd have your top like De Bruyne and Fernandes, but then you could, Rodriguez is a bit cheaper, and then you could have, Podence or something like that. So yeah, I do like the strikers. There's so many options, isn't there? Like who you could have and what you can do. But the midfielders, I don't think there's. I just don't know, mate. That is hard. That is hard to say what you do, really.
Paul, what are your thoughts?
Yes.
Yes, easy. I kind of agree. I think last season it was more prevalent because you only really had KDB last year, whereas I think that KDB and De Bruyne this year are 2 very expensive ones, and then all the ones we've kind of talked about now. We've mentioned there's players like Havertz, who will surely come good, and Pulisic. You mentioned Zaha and all this as well. I think that we'll see. I know you mentioned 5-3-2 earlier, Paul. I personally think we'll see a bit more of 4-4-2 because I think there's quite a bit of value in midfield. We mentioned the likes of Podence and and Diangana and players like this as well. And so I think we'll see a bit of more of like 4-4-2 personally, but yeah, I think it's better this year than last year. I found last year everyone more or less was stuck on the same sort of team and not team but formation, and I definitely noticed it because I just couldn't rise in rank. When you used to like nail a captaincy, you'd have what you think was like a differential sort of captain, or you'd have 3 clean sheets in one day or something. Ryan, I'm on for a nice rise, and I'd rise from like 3k to like 2.7k instead of those massive jumps. Where I think there's a lot more variety and options this year, but yeah. We're getting some comments now in the chat, Dan. I don't know if you must be skinned for paying all these guys off. Craig said, Dan, your mum told me to write a nice message. We'll leave that there before we get into trouble there. Bear, Dan Cox is also my hero. He's the greatest fantasy ever. Bring that Nations Cup home soon.
That I will. That trophy will be staying here with me.
It will be with me. I keep
because I ain't paying the postage to any like your countries. You can pay for that yourself.
I keep looking, and I don't think the game is updated, is it? I keep looking to see if we can update the leagues, but I don't think we can. We may have to miss that. Lance Harrison as well said Ziyech could be a good buy in midfield if he's ever fit. Absolutely, there's so many options we haven't even seen yet, right? Who are going to be good options after the overhaul. A lot of ones. And Andrew says, it's 4 nations, not home nations. Thank you very much there, Andrew. Absolutely, we don't want to get into trouble there either. Last question off Phil Speck. Interesting one here. Surprise player so far. Paul, apologies for putting you on the spot, but who has surprised you the most so far?
Calvert-Lewin.
Calvert-Lewin, fair enough. And how about you, Dan? Who's been your surprise player?
Yeah, I'd say the same. I know it's only been 2 games, and he was a player who you picked out pre-season. So if anyone was listening, you did pick him out. But yeah, Calvert-Lewin, just be interesting to see if he can keep it up throughout the season.
I think I'd probably say, I think Zaha personally. I think he's always been there or thereabouts. He's always been all right, but he's a bit more known for his diving in the box and getting booked and moaning at the ref. Whereas he seems to have started off this season looking really, really sharp. So I'm really pleased.
He wants to move club, that's why.
What's that?
He wants to get out of Palace, that's why.
This is the thing, right? So if he stays there, I think he's a really good option. I know he's been linked, haven't he, to Everton.
If
he went to Everton, that they would be even an even stronger team there. But yeah, hope that.
I'll go off a bit.
Yeah.
What I like about Calvert-Lewin is I saw a bit of Ancelotti in the week, and he was talking to, it was Calvert-Lewin was talking, but Ancelotti basically told him like the best sort of strike is just to have one touch. You know what I mean? And he was sort of basically saying all this stuff really that he's told him he needs more goals and to take less touches and just get the shot in, sort of thing. And I think he's going to really improve under Ancelotti. So
we get Ancelotti in at Spurs to talk to Kane.
Yeah,
absolutely. We're having some questions around whether to take a -4 into wild card. Absolutely, go for it.
I had a few people message me actually on Twitter saying, "Should I do this or a wild card?" I just, instead of telling them to go to you, I'm like, "Yeah, do it." Like I'm just giving them FPL advice.
Yeah, I think I'm wild carding this week, but best though. Pompey lad, Fergie's the greatest host of the fancy podcast the world has ever seen. Now, they're the messages we like to see. Thank you very much for that. Okay, finally then, chaps, we've got the fixtures for this week then. So on Saturday, Brighton play Man United, Palace play Everton, West Brom play Chelsea, Burnley, Southampton. Paul, a couple of captain options there, and who is your captain likely to be?
Yeah, Saturday's pretty interesting. I'm going to go Timo Werner, just not because of how well he's playing or the fact that it's Chelsea, but against West Brom, I would captain anybody just now. So Timo Werner on Saturday. Sunday, it's going to be Kane or KDB. I'll probably go KDB because if I watch the games live, Kane will just frustrate me watching Spurs. And then I was thinking of, I always had a backup plan in my mind to bring in Salah for Kane on Monday night for a 2-for-1, because on the game week 4, Spurs are away to Man United and Liverpool's away to Villa as well. So I'll probably captain Salah.
Good thinking. Just confirm the fixtures for the Sunday. It's Sheffield United Leeds is the early kickoff, then Tottenham Newcastle, Man City Leicester, and West Ham and Wolves. Dan, what are your thoughts on the captains for the weekend?
Keep it quick. Same as Paul, Werner and Kane.
Yeah, I think I'm the same. What about Monday, Dan? Because obviously you haven't got Salah, and you've been saying that you're not going to use any more transfers. What's your captain plan for Monday night?
Van Dijk, I think. Yeah, Van Dijk is the one. Although I'm at work all day by myself, like tomorrow, so I'll have a bit of time to think. So I was just thinking to myself then, I could bring in Sterling tomorrow for Aubameyang, and I could put Kane into Salah at 28th, but we will see what tomorrow brings. But I think I'll beat De Bruyne and tomorrow, and I'll go with Van Dijk against Arsenal.
Yeah, I was tempted by Bruno, and this is probably one of the main reasons I started with Bruno. Actually, was because of this away to Brighton game. But obviously, as we've already mentioned, Brighton look very good. United don't look on it yet. I think this will be a very, very hard game for United. And as we have touched on already, I think Werner has looked really good. Away to West Brom, they've conceded 8. You could guess as well, potentially, that Werner may have pens now that Jorginho missed earlier. He may or may not, but I think Werner looks really good. He just haven't had it yet, and this is hopefully where kind of the fantasy, I suppose, experience and skill kind of comes into it. If you just look at points, Werner hasn't done anything right, but his underlying, eye test and stats show otherwise. So I think he's a good option on that. Saturday and on Sunday, Tottenham home to Newcastle. Yes, I think I agree. I go with Kane. And on the Monday night, I need to have a think because I've got St. Maximum, who went off earlier on 28 minutes. Now, if he is injured, I can't afford to do a straight Kane to Salah, so I didn't think that far ahead like Paul. This is why Paul's an elite manager and I'm not. So I haven't got quite enough to get from Kane to Salah. So if I am going to do that, I probably need to look at taking St. Maximum out for someone else to release some funds to do Kane for Salah. So that could potentially give me, a Wolves player, potentially a City player. Maybe using Poland's example. I was going to say Foden, but Foden's 8.2, so I can't afford him. But if I'll see what I've I've got a day to get that extra Wolves game, maybe. To get that Wolves news, also to get news on St. Max Mammon if he is injured or not as well. So we'll see there. But that's going to be my thoughts. But Werner and Kane for sure. Hopefully Salah, maybe Salah. I think I can afford Mane off the bat. Actually, I don't think. I think Mane is cheaper than Salah, and so Mane could potentially be a decent option on that night. Or obviously I've got Robertson anyway, so we will have to see about that. That is it for our captains. We can't update on the leagues sadly this week. Apologies, guys. Obviously because there was the late game, the leagues haven't updated yet. But next week we will definitely, as long as there's no later game, which there is, it's West Ham and Wolves. We won't be able to do it next week either. Never mind. We'll do it the week after when we get back to normal. But we will update by the Hub £500 Members League update, and we will update the Four Nations League as well. I know my two teams were bottom and bottom but one, but it's a game of patience. So let's move on to Dan's rant. Dan, what are you angry about?
Do you know what's annoyed me this week?
What's that?
Not too much, actually. I'm pretty chilled out this week because last week I think I was getting pretty stressed because of the season was starting and everything, and that was a nightmare start for us. I was pretty stressed. I've actually got the transfer stats. Actually, I forgot to mention. Do you want me?
Yeah, go on, do it. Yeah,
I did, but I'll quickly mention. So the top 10, and this was on Thursday morning, so this will have gone down even more. But the top 10 had used an average of 4.4. Top 100 you used 3.5. The top 1,000 had used 2.4, and the top 5,000 you used 1.9. So you can see they're like, don't look at that leaderboard because a lot of them they're using a lot of transfers, So you only get 40 throughout the season. So if you ever use 4 or so, you do need to slow down a bit. But yeah, what's annoyed me this week? I know everyone keeps mentioning it. It's like the top topic for Sky Fantasy Football. Get Bruno Fernandes a face on his profile. He's been there since January. There's people who have joined the league like recently that have got a profile picture. Do you know what I mean? And you think, why has he not got one? If they can't get one, get FPL Doodles to draw one. Like, he's drawn all us 3. It's a pretty good likeness. Like, just that and sort that out. Another rant at Sky. I hope no one there's listening, right? During the week, they said, got some information for you. Bale's going to be 10.8 million. But they don't tell you if he's bloody striker or midfielder. If you're not going to tell us what he is, that info's about as much use as a chocolate teapot in it. Do you know what I mean? That's annoying. And my last one's a bit of a dilemma. I've been invited to a wedding as a family member. You think they know better. A wedding on the 7th of August next year. Is the season going to start that day? Because, do you know what I mean? I don't want to commit. I've got the kids to get ready in the morning. I think it's about a 12 o'clock kickoff here, this wedding. So, do you know what I mean? I had to get the boys in their suits in the morning. I'll be busy. That's going to be chaos. Do you know what I mean? If someone can let me, if that's going to be the first day of the season, I'm just going to have to say, sorry, mate, but it's going to be evening only for me. Do you know what I mean? But if it's the season, the weekend after, I'll be spot on. So if anyone can work that out, that'd be great to know. And I think that's about it for me.
Because they've moved the Euros to next year, I would probably guess be the one after. It's normally between like the 8th and the 50th. I've never seen it as early as the 7th, but
no, that's fine.
It would typically be Man City playing the 12:30 kickoff as well, like the one line up that you want to see on the first day of the season. You're frantically getting on that.
Oh my god! Okay, well I'll send off that we're going then. That's fine.
I think all the guys in the chat are saying that it'll be later as well, Dan. So
that's worked out nice then. I was getting a bit worried about that.
I think you're golden there. Let's have a quick look at our podcast 11. Oh, it hasn't come up very well on the screen. Apologies for that, guys. I'm gonna have to sort this out next week. Very, very amateurish. I do apologise. You can only see a couple of the players. We'll just knock that off. Just to run quickly through the podcast team. We've got McCarthy in goals. He had -2 today. Joe Gomez injured today. Van Dijk scored 10. Justin got 8. Ben White transferred in last week, got 7 points, got the clean sheet, which was good. Antonio 10. Soucek only 2. Fernandes 5. Kane got 19. We captained Aubameyang and he got the 10. Obviously on Saturday, but we did captain Werner instead of Kane. So we had 73 points, which wasn't a bad week there. We do potentially have a couple of problems. We've got Gomez at the back. I'm not sure how long he's out for or how long he's injured for, but it does show him he's like orange flagged. So in terms of just like managing the team now, our plan all along, I think, we should just go Aubameyang to De Bruyne tomorrow, which we'll just do. That will be, absolutely fine. Paul or Dan, have you got any thoughts on any other moves that we should be thinking about at all, or not?
I thought Fabinho played really well at centre
I
half.
agree. I
don't
thought
know if that's a long-term solution, but
yeah.
So I don't know. Is it worth putting out options? And one option would be don't make any moves, and then getting people in the chat to put forward players, because we could be flexible in formation as well, right? If we want to make any moves.
Yeah, Mr. Gomez, is he 9 points?
It's like 9.3 or something.
Yeah, he's 9.3, and not sure how much we've got in the bank. Let's have a look. Bank. We've got 0.2 in the bank, so we could potentially do a move there. Dan, any thoughts on any moves at all?
It's just that Gomez one. It is annoying, isn't it? Like, yeah, you could get. It's a pity, Man City. You don't see the lineups. You could say you could whip them out for. Walker's about that price, isn't he? I think Walker's a bit more or something, but.
Okay, yeah. I put apologies, guys. I'll sort the screen out for next week there. So I suppose in terms of Gomez, then we need to make a decision. If anyone has got any strong thoughts either way, and whether we should get rid of Gomez or not, and if so, who we should move him on to. So we'll have 9.4.
Fergie, why don't if you take the first three options that perhaps come through in the chat, and then put as a fourth option on a Twitter poll, make no move, and then do a vote tomorrow, and then
that's a good
vote comes out.
We'll put it. Yeah, that's a good shout. We'll put it on Twitter poll. So the Gaming Idiot has put Rodriguez in. So if anyone else has got any thoughts, 9.4, we can either spend it in defence or in midfield. If we want to go less, we can then go Kane to Salah potentially next week. So if you want to go Kane to Salah, then you can go for anything up to 9 million, I think. So just some thoughts there. Mark Brown says Egan, Ake, Rodri, Sheffield United defence. So what we'll do, we'll take all these options, we'll put them in a Twitter poll tomorrow, and we will base it on that. But thank you for that, and apologies for the screen, guys. I know you can only see Ben White, I think, on the actual screen. I'll fix that for next week. We've had some shouts for Zaha as well. Thomas Dalrymple, with Son scoring 4 today, what would you rather have for breakfast, cereal or bacon and eggs? Dan, can I ask you that one?
I've got some random questions as well. I'll answer all them later, but now I always have a normally porridge mate for breakfast.
Okay.
Can't eat all that.
Okay. Thank you very much. All just have a quick look, make sure we're done. Yes, we are. So thank you very much as usual, everyone. I think the message from the three of us, so there's a lot of worried managers. I think the message from the three of us is don't panic, just make the obvious move. Don't use any more transfers than necessary. Pre-overhaul, I think we're planning between, I think the most we're planning to use is maybe 3, potentially even 2. So don't panic is the message. Pre-overhaul, I think we need to get that out there. Like I say, Dan has won the game, so he knows. Paul has come fourth. You've all had, they've all had really good finishes. They know their stuff. Listen to the guys, especially the new players. It doesn't matter if you haven't had a great start. It doesn't matter. What matters is getting to the overhaul using minimal transfers, and then you've got 34 games with all those multiple game days to go from there. Then, so I think that's probably any last kind of messages there, guys. Dan, any final thoughts there?
Yeah, just like we'd sort of said, like if you've ever had the great thing about Sky is if you had a bad day yesterday, then you couldn't, I know a lot of people on FPL have had a bad weekend. They took out Son and they didn't have Calvert-Lewin and stuff. But because there is a captain each day, even if you had a bad yesterday and today, you can still have a good Monday, which will sort of save your week. So, and there's so many captaincy days. So, just don't do anything rash. And I say, if you have had a bad start, don't then use an extra 3 or 4 transfers trying to rectify it, because just relax. Listen to come with we're here all season. Listen to us on a Sunday night. We've got stuff on the hub. We'll help you. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, just chill out and relaxed sort of thing. I was also going to say, we had like nearly 4,000 views for last week. So for everyone who does tune in, thanks for tuning in. Unless you're here for FPL, you just wasted an hour, but thanks for tuning in anyway.
Yeah, bring in Alan. Paul, any thoughts from you? Any final, any gems or any wisdom?
Every season I play, I come to the end of the season and wish that I'd made less transfers. And I'm sure that the majority of people will be in exactly the same position at the end of this season. So although you go to Twitter and you see someone's captained Calvert-Lewin and someone's captained Son, I imagine the people that have got Calvert-Lewin, I imagine might have burned through quite a few, like 2 or 3 transfers already. Come the last 4 or 5 game weeks of the season, don't have any transfers to take out injured players or hit captaincy days. So yeah, just hold tight if you can. If you have got players that are injured, they're definitely going to be out. You can get 3 games out of someone, perhaps go for a steady point stream, say like Rodri or something like that. But otherwise, yeah, just hold firm.
Good stuff. Sit on your hands, everyone. Okay, so thank you so much as usual for supporting us and interacting us with us on this live stream. One favour, could everyone please retweet the podcast when we tweet it out later or tomorrow? And if you haven't liked it, please like it. We're getting over 100 live watches now. We're not getting 100 likes, so please can everyone who's left on now, please like the podcast. Please just help us. And as Dan said, we're getting more and more watches now, which is absolutely fantastic. No thanks again, says I use my wild card. Who must I bring in?
Calvert-Lewin.
You're on the wrong stream, mate.
No, we'll help him.
We'll help him, Calvert-Lewin. Alan and Højbjerg are the ones you want. Okay, Dan, where can people find you?
Twitter, Dan Cox 82. If you're watching live and we ain't answered your question, or if you want to ask me about pedestrianisation of Norwich, send them to him on Twitter, and I'll get to them in a little while before I go to bed. So yeah, Twitter, Dan Cox 82, and my weekly article on the Hub. If I say so myself, is worth a read. So they're the best places.
Good stuff. And Paul, where can we find you?
Yeah, Twitter as well, at Paul McAnulty 1, so MCANULTY.
Lovely stuff. And my Twitter handle is at Fergie222. So this podcast and video will be on the Fantasy Football Hub, Sky and TFF YouTube channel, and also available in all major podcast platforms. If you like what you watch, again, please click the like button. Remember to subscribe in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. If you enjoyed your listen, please rate the podcast versions and leave some comments. Our handles on Twitter, Instagram and TikTok are at FFH_HQ. Our podcast Twitter handle is at FFH_Sky. So please follow and feel free to ask any questions. Just a reminder for everyone, this is a Sky Fantasy podcast. Only players in the UK can play. So if you're here for FPL, you're on the wrong one. Thank you everyone on the chat. Thank you, Phil. Thanks, Adam. Thanks, Martin, and everyone else who said thank you and good night. Good night to you too. Our website is fantasyfootballhub.co.uk, where you'll find everything you need for fantasy football, all under one roof, including player comparison tools, the fixture ticker, Opta-stats, top player team reveals, and much, much more. All of which is on our new free app, which you'll find in the App Store, searching for Fantasy Football Hub. You can use the top link in our description, which will take you straight to it. We'll be back next week to preview Game Week 4. Until then, thank you very much, gents, and good night. Good night.